Hello, this is Equinox by Squeak Annan. Equinox. The moon sat in the sky, slowly making its rounds, as it always had done. It was full that night, the fullest it would be all year, shining brightly in the sky, casting everything in its pale, gentle light. The night was mild, and only the gentlest of breezes ruffled the leaves of the sleeping trees on the planet below. All was quiet. From the silent surface, something leapt into the sky, taking flight on strong wings, making nary a sound to alert anyone it was there at all. Quickly gaining speed, it flew up until it was but a small dot in the sky, indistinguishable from any other, flying so fast it would have made the quickest of Pegasi gape in awe. Soon as it was free of the planet, away from its harsh gravity, it allowed itself to let momentum carry it the rest of the way. Princess Luna landed on the moon. Small plumes of dust, undisturbed for unimaginable lengths of time, drifted up from her hooves into the brilliant white landscape. She sat and looked out at the craters and the mountains of the surface. "Hello, dear moon," she said softly. "I'm sorry I haven't visited in so long. The duties of a princess are many, and time is a precious commodity." The moon was silent. "I thought I would come to see you on this, your most beautiful of nights. I have thought of coming many times before, but this seemed like the most appropriate of any." Luna looked down at the planet, spinning many miles below. She could see its hills, its seas, and its mountains, not very much unlike the ones around which she stood. "It is you who was my closest friend for all of those years, shining bright, lighting the dark, a comfort for a millennia. I thought that now, bereaved, what? Bereaved of me. Perhaps you too were lonely." The moon was silent. "It is not bad below. There are many who have forgiven me for my transgressions. I cannot be angry at my sister, no matter how much I care to try. She is kind in her way. Perhaps she understands my jealousy, how a deep green my envy. Who could not covet such a position as the sun?" She gazed once more at the world below. She could see it, the burning star, coming ever nearer to claim its place, warming the earth and bringing the day. "Perhaps it is fitting that we are sisters," she sighed. "The sun and the moon, our powers entwined. She is the older, as is the sun. It burned there in the sky, long before the moon ever took its nightly watch, and it has maintained such a dominance. It brings the day, bustling with activity, while we, the younger of the two, can only slightly relieve the dark of the night, and watch the silence as it falls. So, does Celestia talk to the sun?" Sounds like that would hurt. The sun crept across the far landscape below. Even from here she could hear the sounds of life that followed. "We are alone in our task, dear moon, as it has always been. The sun a symbol for warmth and joy, as we are remembered for naught but a sign of the coming night, a time to lock one's doors and close one's eyes to what dreams we may bring." The moon was silent. Well, it's also romantic, but Luna's not looking at that. "There I go again. Maybe I am getting old, dear moon. I rattle on about my place, even as our time grows short. I often wonder if I bore you with such stories." She turned to gaze to the planet, where she was to return. "Perhaps one day you shall tell me yours." Her great wings opened. "I shall try to visit again soon. I promise. Goodbye, dear moon." And so she was off. With a great push and the flapping up of wings, Princess Luna made her way back to the planet she called home. The next day, as she left her room, she met Celestia on her way to the dining hall. The great princess asked Luna to accompany her to Ponyville. Being polite as always, Luna accepted graciously. The palace could be a very lonely place sometimes. So within the hour they boarded a carriage and set off, pulled only by the finest Pegasi in the land. As Luna rode, she looked up at the sun and down at the ponies playing and laughing on this most beautiful day of days. She thought back to her talk with the moon. She wondered if perhaps where it was now it might shine on such play, but she knew it was but an idle dream. They arrived in town quite shortly. Princess Celestia urged Luna to do as she wished while she tended to royal business, nothing that the smaller pony seemed depressed. Noting. Luna protested against the idea of wandering around on her own, but eventually relented. As she walked, many ponies waved and said hello. Out of politeness, she did the same. She was not acclimated to being of royalty. The attention unnerved her slightly. After buying a few sweets from a local shop, whose owners refused to let her pay, she sat on a bench under a tall oak. She delicately ate the candy beneath its branches. No, you can't pay! Okay. Despite the sun's glowing warmth, she felt cold, without quite knowing why. She sat still. Several ponies offered her gifts and favors as they passed, but she politely declined. She did not want their services or presents, no matter how lavish. Though they tried and tried again, she again declined and declined and declined. Soon, a small pony in a red bow came up and asked her for one of her sweets. "You may have one," she said softly. The filly ate the candy quickly and curiously stared at Luna for a while. "Why are you so sad, miss?" she asked. "I am not sad," she said quickly. "Just a bit tired is all." "I'm not sad. That's a big contrast to the last fic I just read. You were pretty sad there." "Are you sure?" said the filly, looking at her with the knowing eyes that only the young possess. Luna paused for a moment. "No," she said softly, and at that she began to cry. The filly tried to comfort her, but it did not help. Many other ponies tried their best, doing tricks, telling jokes, but they too ultimately failed. So the Princess of Moon kept crying and crying for a very long time. No one could console her. The tears just flowed and flowed. Then suddenly the sky darkened. Quite an odd thing for the middle of the afternoon. Every pony looked up to the sky, craning their necks to try and see what happened. The little filly who had taken the candy rushed over. "Miss! Hey, miss!" she cried. Luna continued to sob. "Miss, look up!" Through her sobs, Luna did as the child bid. And there, hanging in the sky, was a large object blocking out the sun. Luna gasped. "An eclipse," she whispered. It was at this time that Princess Celestia galloped over. "Did you see this, Luna? Or no, did you do this, Luna?" she asked. "There is no eclipse scheduled for today." She told her sister that she had done nothing to cause the eclipse. As she spoke, she looked around at every pony in the small town, and she knew, perhaps for a time, in the world, stared up at the moon. They oohed and they awed, and soon they went about their daily lives, laughing and playing under the moon in the middle of the day, and she realized that she was no longer crying. Later, as they boarded the carriage and the eclipse slowly ended, she looked up and said, "Thank you, dear moon." The end. Well, that had a surprisingly serious ending. Serious to the point where it actually kind of destroyed it, because that was like 2 paragraphs, and like, thank you, dear, like, what? Like, oh, we're gonna be funny. Oh, we're gonna rush, it's gonna be serious. Ah! Ah! This only has 12 comments and 88 likes. Whatever. Okay, goodbye, every pony. Picture perfect pony. Picture perfect pony, pony, pony. That's terrible. It's like pony, pony, pony. It's something. Perfect pony, I forget. Whatever. Goodbye. Again.